They are souls in this world who walk differently. Not faster, not louder, but deeper. You know them when you meet them. Their presence feels like a mirror and a mystery all at once. They are rare not because they are better, but because they are awake. They have seen what most people refuse to see, felt what others run from, and carried truths that the world cannot hold without misunderstanding them. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Um, but what he didn't say, at least not directly, is that this privilege comes with a cost. Because to become who you truly are, you must first lose everything you were taught to be. And that is why so few do it. There are signs, subtle, powerful, unmistakable, that mark a person who is cut from this rare fabric of consciousness. Not the kind of rarity that feeds the ego, but the kind that terrifies it. Because to possess a rare soul is to live in a constant negotiation between depth and detachment, empathy and isolation, vision and burden. The first sign is your refusal to stay asleep. You were never able to tolerate ignorance, even your own. While others found comfort in conformity, you found suffocation. You could never play along with lies, even the socially acceptable ones, the smiles that didn't mean happiness, the jobs that didn't mean purpose, the relationships that didn't mean love. You saw through it. You always saw through it. From a young age, you felt the silent absurdity of the world, the way people chased approval instead of truth, control instead of peace. It wasn't rebellion for you. It was recognition. You recognized the game, and you could not unsee it. Jung called this the beginning of individuation, the moment the soul refuses to be swallowed by the collective dream. This is why you've always felt slightly apart, not above, but beyond. Even in crowds, you could sense the invisible gap between appearance and essence. You learned to stay quiet, not because you were timid, but because your mind was loud enough. Your solitude was not loneliness, it was survival. Because you discovered early that most conversations are not about truth, but about maintaining illusion, and illusion exhausts you. The second sign of a rare personality is the depth of your perception. You don't just see events, you see meaning. You don't just hear words, you hear the energy behind them. You don't just meet people, you read them, the tone in their silence, the truth between their gestures. You feel currents where others see calm. You sense the storm before it arrives. This is both gift and curse. Because when you perceive that deeply, you can no longer lie to yourself. You can't play blind to patterns, can't pretend not to notice energy that doesn't align. And that awareness isolates you. Jung wrote that loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate things that seem important to you. You felt that truth in your bones. It's not that people don't listen, it's that they can't hear from the frequency you speak. Your thoughts move through dimensions others haven't yet entered. And so you learn to translate, to speak the language of simplicity without betraying the complexity of your mind. That is the silent burden of rare souls, to make depth digestible in a shallow age. The third sign is your emotional intelligence, not the performance of empathy, but the embodiment of it. You have suffered enough to understand suffering. Pain has refined you, burned away your judgment, turned your wounds into windows. You don't just sympathize. You see the unseen parts of people, the parts they hide even from themselves. That's why strangers confide in you, why people are drawn to your calm. Your presence disarms because it does not demand. You carry no mask, only mirrors. And people who are not ready to see themselves often mistake that reflection for danger. Your empathy makes you magnetic, but it also makes you vulnerable. You've been drained by takers, betrayed by those who mistook your compassion for compliance. But even after the betrayals, you couldn't close your heart. You learned discernment, not bitterness, boundaries, not walls. You discovered that love without self-respect is not love, it's leakage. The fourth sign is your relationship with truth. For you, truth is not optional, it is oxygen. You would rather be cut by honesty than suffocated by comfort. You have learned that denial is the slowest form of self-destruction, a quiet suicide of the soul. And so you speak truth even when it shakes your voice, even when it costs you company. You've lost friends to your integrity, but you've gained freedom in the process. You've learned that peace built on lies is just tension delayed. This commitment to truth has made you dangerous in a world addicted to illusion. People project onto you, fear you, envy you, love you, but they cannot ignore you, because rare souls hold a kind of light that reveals everything false. And most people are not ready to see themselves that clearly. The fifth sign is your craving for meaning. You cannot live superficially. You cannot worship empty goals or call comfort success. You are restless in repetition, allergic to mediocrity. Your spirit is fueled by depth, by purpose, by connection, by evolution. This is why you feel alive, not when you're entertained, but when you're enlightened. Not when you're praised, but when you're understood. You hunger for conversations that pierce through illusion, for experiences that remind you of the sacred nature of being alive. Ordinary pleasures feel hollow unless they are infused with purpose. You are the seeker in Jung's sense, the archetype of the wanderer who leaves safety not because they are lost, but because they are being called. The call is not to find something new, but to remember something ancient, your own truth. The sixth sign is your resistance to manipulation. Because you think in layers, you see through tactics that others don't. You spot patterns in people's motives before they've even spoken. Flattery doesn't move you. Fear doesn't control you. You've tasted both and found them tasteless. You understand that true influence comes from alignment, not authority. And so, while others are busy trying to impress, you are busy trying to understand. This makes you immune to most forms of control, which, in the eyes of the system, makes you dangerous. You cannot be herded by trends, swayed by propaganda, or sold a hollow dream. You know that freedom isn't rebellion. It's awareness, and awareness cannot be owned. The seventh sign is your paradoxical nature. You are both soft and strong, detached yet devoted, grounded yet ethereal. You live in contradictions comfortably because you've learned that truth lives in tension, not extremes. You can be calm in chaos and sensitive in silence. You are both the storm and the stillness after it. You have the mind of a philosopher and the heart of a poet. People don't know how to categorize you, and you've stopped trying to make them, because you've realized to be understood by everyone is to betray yourself. And the eighth, perhaps the rarest sign of all, you are self-aware enough to keep evolving. You do not mistake awakening for arrival. You know that awareness is a spiral, not a staircase, that every layer of consciousness reveals another one waiting beneath it. You are not afraid to change your mind when truth demands it. You are not ashamed to outgrow versions of yourself that once felt like home. You understand that to be alive is to be unfinished. And that is what keeps you humble, not false modesty, but reverence for the mystery that keeps unfolding through you. Jung believed that the rarest individuals were not the loudest, but the most integrated, those who made peace with their shadow, who could look at their own darkness and say, yes, you are part of me, but you do not define me. That is your power. You do not seek perfection. You seek wholeness. You no longer run from contradiction. You dance with it. You no longer fear solitude. You use it. You no longer need validation. You are validation. You walk through the world differently now, not as someone desperate to fit, but as someone willing to stand alone if truth requires it. You are not chasing belonging anymore. You are embodying authenticity. And because of that, life begins to respond differently. The right people feel your energy and gravitate toward it. The wrong ones sense your strength and disappear. The noise fades, the clarity sharpens, and what remains is not loneliness but alignment. Because the rarest souls on earth are not the ones who shine brightest. They are the ones who have walked through darkness without losing their light. So, if you felt misunderstood, too deep, too intense, too alone, you are not too much. You are simply rare. And rarity, by its nature, is never common. It is costly, precious, and timeless. You were never meant to fit into this world. You were meant to illuminate it, to show others what it looks like to live awake, to feel fully, to think freely, to stand in your truth, even when it trembles. Because in the end, that is the true mark of a rare soul, not how loudly they live, but how consciously. And when you live consciously, you stop surviving the world and begin transforming it. And when you reach that level of consciousness, something inside of you shifts forever. The noise of the world begins to dim, not because the world changes, but because you finally tuned your frequency away from it. You are no longer hypnotized by the shallow rhythm of external validation, by the seduction of approval, by the illusion of control. You move from reaction to intention, from resistance to awareness, from chasing to attracting. This is what Jung called the emergence of the self, the moment when the conscious and the unconscious stop fighting and start cooperating. You are no longer ruled by the fragments of who you were told to be. You are guided by the totality of who you are. It's subtle, almost imperceptible at first, but you start noticing it everywhere, in how you speak, how you walk, how you decide. You no longer rush. You no longer justify. You no longer try to convince anyone to understand you, because the rare soul doesn't waste energy explaining frequency to those who only hear noise. They simply embody it, and the right ones will feel it. You start realizing that your solitude is sacred. You are not lonely. You are in audience with your own consciousness. And that silence, which once scared you, now feels like home. You begin to crave it, that stillness, that presence, that communion with something ancient within you. It's not isolation, it's integration. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." And when you look inside long enough, the entire world begins to rearrange itself around your awareness. You no longer chase opportunities. They align with your energy. You no longer search for meaning, you create it. You no longer fight for love, you become it. Because the moment you become conscious, the universe stops being a battlefield and starts being a mirror. Everything reflects you. Every trigger reveals you. Every coincidence guides you. And even pain, the same pain that once broke you, now becomes instruction. You see it not as punishment, but precision, the psyche sculpting itself through experience. You understand now that every wound was a teacher in disguise, that the heartbreak wasn't tragedy, it was transformation, that every rejection was redirection toward your authenticity. The world didn't betray you, it introduced you to yourself. And this is where the rare soul begins to radiate differently. You don't need to speak loudly, your silence carries conviction. You don't need to prove worth, your energy already declares it. You don't need to chase destiny, you embody it. Your very existence becomes evidence that consciousness, once awakened, cannot be contained. But the truth is, not everyone will celebrate that awakening, because your presence will unsettle the unconscious in others. They will feel it before they understand it. Your calm will challenge their chaos. Your boundaries will expose their manipulation. Your integrity will remind them of their own compromises. And so they will call you cold, arrogant, different, hard to understand. Let them. Rare souls are not meant to be understood by everyone. They are meant to be recognized by the few who see clearly enough to notice the depth beneath the stillness. You are not here to fit their idea of light. You are here to remind them of their own. And when you stop needing to be understood, you become unstoppable. Because misunderstanding is the tax that truth pays to exist. When you carry vision in a blind world, it is expected that few will see it. But you did not come to be seen. You came to see. You start to understand that your sensitivity, the very thing you once hated about yourself, is not weakness. It's your radar for truth. Your intuition, once dismissed as emotion, now becomes your compass. You don't analyze as much as you sense. You read the energy in a room faster than most people can finish a sentence. You see the dynamics behind words, the motives behind behavior, the fear behind arrogance. You are not cynical, you are clairvoyant. You see humanity in all its rawness, the masks, the wounds, the longing for love, and you stop judging it. You simply observe. This is the evolution of the rare soul, from empath to alchemist, from absorber of energy to transformer of it. You no longer drown in emotion. You use it as fuel. You no longer carry pain. You transmute it into wisdom. You no longer fight the world. You dance with its paradox. This doesn't make life easier, it makes it clearer. You begin to see that suffering doesn't end when you awaken, only your relationship with it changes. You no longer resist pain, you extract meaning from it. You no longer crave perfection. You understand the beauty of becoming. Because what is rare is not flawlessness, it's awareness. You have learned that the most powerful form of discipline is not control, but consciousness. To remain centered while chaos surrounds you. To remain compassionate while the world projects its pain onto you. To remain humble while knowing exactly who you are. That is mastery. That is the quiet power of a rare mind. And because you live from awareness, you stop falling for the illusions that keep others trapped. You stop chasing pleasure that leaves you empty. You stop performing for people who were never watching. You stop building a life around validation that expires. You stop surviving and you begin living. Living with intention. Living with presence. Living with a kind of authenticity that makes conformity impossible. This is what it means to have a rare personality, to stand at the intersection of chaos and calm and still choose consciousness, to see the madness of the world and not become part of it, to feel the pain of humanity and still believe in its redemption, to walk alone if necessary, but never abandon your truth, because truth is your home now. And once you've lived there, illusion feels like poison. The masks fall, the noise fades, the world becomes transparent. You can see the systems for what they are, projections of the collective unconscious, powered by fear and distraction. You no longer fight them, you rise above them. You operate on a higher frequency, not of arrogance, but of clarity. And clarity in this age of confusion is rebellion. To see clearly is to threaten every illusion that profits from blindness. That is why rare souls are not celebrated, they are resisted. But resistance is proof that you are awake, that you are no longer feeding what enslaves others, that your mind has become your sanctuary, not your prison. You start living in alignment, thought, word, action, all unified by awareness. Integrity is no longer effort, it's instinct. Because once you know truth deeply enough, you cannot live against it. It's not morality, it's magnetism. The soul cannot sustain contradiction once it's seen clearly. You begin to create differently art that carries frequency, words that awaken, ideas that liberate. Your work becomes sacred, not because of what it achieves, but because of what it reflects, consciousness in motion. Every rare soul eventually discovers this truth. Your real gift is not what you do, it's what you are. The world will try to categorize you, measure you, define you. Let it try. You are not measurable. You are not definable. That is the rarest rebellion of all. To see everything and still choose peace. To hold infinite depth and still walk lightly. To carry wisdom that could destroy illusions and still speak with grace. That is the true mark of evolution, not that you know, but that you understand. Because understanding is what turns knowledge into compassion. And compassion is what turns rare souls into healers. Not healers who fix, but healers who awaken simply by being. And one day, when you look back on this life, on every shadow you faced, every storm you survived, every truth that stripped you bare, you will understand that nothing was wasted. Every experience was a step toward consciousness. Every heartbreak was an initiation into truth. Every isolation was preparation for mastery. And as you look out at the world still lost in its noise, you will not feel pity. You will feel reverence, because you know that every soul is on its way home. Some crawling, some running, some still asleep, but all heading toward the same awakening. You are not here to save them. You are here to be the reminder, to show, by living fully awake, that it can be done, that one can live with eyes open, heart intact, mind unbroken. That is your purpose. That is the burden and the blessing of being rare, to walk through illusion with unshakable clarity, to feel the depth of existence without drowning, to carry the light of truth not as a torch of superiority, but as a quiet, steady flame. And when that flame meets another rare soul awakening in the dark, the light multiplies. And slowly, quietly, the world begins to remember itself again. That is how the rare transforms the world, not through noise, but through presence, not through force, but through consciousness, not by trying to wake others, but by never falling asleep again. You are not here to fit. You are here to illuminate. And the light you carry is not fragile. It was forged in darkness. That is what makes you rare. That is what makes you powerful. And that is what makes you eternal. And so the journey brings you here to the quiet understanding that rarity was never about being special. It was about being true. The world taught you to measure yourself by comparison, to chase validation, to hide your depth behind convenience. But the rarest thing you could ever become is yourself, completely, unapologetically, consciously, because to know yourself is to meet the divine where it actually lives within. You begin to see that there is no separation between the seeker and the found, no line between the light and the shadow. The deeper you went into darkness, the brighter you became. The pain did not destroy you, it polished you. The solitude did not isolate you, it initiated you. Every scar became scripture, every fall became flight. And now you walk, not as one who survived, but as one who remembers. You remember that consciousness was never something you had to create, only uncover. That your power was never meant to be loud, only real. That awakening was never an achievement, it was a return. Return to simplicity. Return to integrity. Return to the quiet strength that does not depend on applause, status, or approval. This is what Carl Jung meant when he spoke of individuation, when he said, the task of the soul is not to become good, but to become whole. To make peace with every part of yourself. To hold your shadow in one hand and your light in the other, and bless both as necessary. You do not choose one over the other, you integrate them, until every contradiction becomes clarity. That is what makes the rare soul so powerful. You are not divided anymore. You are not at war with yourself. You have nothing to prove, nothing to perform, nothing to hide. Your stillness has become your strength. Your silence has become your sword. Your awareness has become your armor. You no longer seek belonging because you belong everywhere. You no longer seek love because you are love. You no longer seek meaning because you embody meaning. You are the proof that consciousness itself walks among the sleeping patient, watchful, awake. And though the world may never fully understand you, it will feel you. It will feel your steadiness in its storms. It will feel your calm in its chaos. It will feel your truth in its noise, because rare souls do not demand attention, they command presence. Your energy now speaks before you do. Your clarity disarms confusion. Your empathy pierces through deception. You are not reacting anymore, you are responding. You are not surviving anymore, you are creating. And as you walk through the noise of this world, untouched, unhurried, unafraid, you carry something that cannot be taught, the quiet authority of someone who has met themselves and decided to stay. That is your rarity, that is your power, and that is your gift to a world still trapped in its illusions. Because while most people seek to escape the darkness, You walked into it and brought back light. While most run from silence, you made it your sanctuary. While most search for the extraordinary, you found it in awareness. You are the living paradox. Jung spoke of human and divine, shadow and light, fragile and eternal. The one who has made peace with being misunderstood, the one who no longer chases destiny because they are destiny in motion. So when people ask you why you are different, why you see what they cannot, why you feel so deeply and stand so calmly, you don't need to explain. Just smile. Because words could never describe what consciousness feels like. Only presence can. And your presence is no longer a question, it's an answer. An answer to everything you once searched for. An answer to every pain that once shaped you. An answer to a world that forgot how to look inward. This is what it means to have an extremely rare personality. Not to be admired, but to be aware. Not to stand above, but to stand within. To walk among the blind with your eyes open. To see truth and still choose love. To feel everything and still remain still. You are the balance the world has forgotten. The bridge between chaos and consciousness. The reminder that light was never lost, only hidden. And as you walk away from this moment, remember, you were never here to fit in. You were here to awaken. You were here to remember who you are and to live as proof that the rarest thing in the universe is a human being who is fully awake. So walk quietly, walk consciously, walk as the light that no darkness can extinguish. Because the rarest souls don't leave their mark by trying, they leave it simply by being.